Hi everybody, welcome back. This is Kathy. Now I've been wanting to do this video for a long time, for weeks, but I know it's just going to be kind of time consuming with a lot of clips and anyway, so I kind of put it off and I'm glad I did because I just very recently got some clips that I needed and anyway, so it will be better now than had I done it a month ago. So anyway, I'm going to be glad to have this because I think it is kind of the whole basis of this Eric and Patrick story with the Whitakers in the summer of 2025, all about this log cabin that was the carrot dangling over the Whitakers' head. The thing that, really made the Whitakers do anything Eric wanted, and Patrick. But let's talk about the log cabin and how I personally, my own opinion, I believe this log cabin, Amish log cabin plan was a stall tactic. And anyway, we'll get into that. So anyway, this is the Amish log cabin style in the woods that Eric painted the picture in everybody's mind. Log cabin, big old porch. Oh, it was even going to have Amish furniture, heated floors, logs that Ray could wipe his hands on. Yeah, and it just kept getting better and better. Oh, and then he even said at the end he said he would have had thousands of volunteers or something like that. Anyway, it just was the over the top. He just painted this picture, but I'm thinking, wait a minute. First time I heard it, I'm thinking, what? Because, let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to where the house first started, and it wasn't with Eric, it was with Mark from Soft White Underbelly. Let's go back. Okay, so the house idea started 2 years ago, summer 2023. Soft White Underbelly has this video here. And nice picture and everything, and this is where the house idea came up. Now, let me hover over that. So if you go to this video here, this is where the house idea came up, and let me hover over it. And you'll see the house that they were thinking about buying. So let's go to that video. Okay, so in this video, this is Whitaker's summer 2023. Now, it's only 2 years ago, but to me, it seems like that was a lot longer. But I guess it was just 2 summers ago that this idea came up, because a lot has happened since then. So anyway, at this part of the video, right before this, they're talking about getting them a house. Okay, so first Larry pulls up, and
hey, Larry.
Yeah. Now, obviously, they had talked about maybe getting them a house, and heard that there's one right next door. Right next door.
We're going back tomorrow. Just thought I'd come talk to Betty about the house.
Oh, Betty about the house. The Bobby.
How much is that house next door?
Huh?
How much is that house next door?
That's $219.
$219 is what they're asking.
It's 3 bedroom, 1 room, kitchen. 4-liter garage. It's got 5 or 6 acres or something like that.
That's more than enough for you guys.
Huh?
That's enough for you guys.
Enough for Betty.
The big question is, does it have a porch like this?
Huh?
The big question is, does it have a porch like this?
Yeah.
Is there one?
I want to get it for Betty. I go take care of.
Yeah, so here's the house, okay?
Is that that number?
Okay, so they show the house. Now it's got everything they want. They had it checked on it. Larry and Betty had checked on it. They found out the price. This is $219. Larry thinks it's kind of too much because there's cheaper ones in the area, but this is right next door. I'm sure the price would come down, they said, but isn't that beautiful? Now this is right next door. As you can see, it has everything that they just said. It's and it would be perfect. You just move in 30 days or whatever, and then the closing is, it's usually 3-4 weeks, and it would be a done deal. Okay, so this is the house they're looking at. This is very simple. They could raise $200,000 real quickly with the millions of viewers that he has. They could have done it easily, and this was the original plan. Okay, logical, simple. Mark wouldn't make a dime. It's all a favor for him. Look, that one even has a handicap ramp already built in. Perfect, right?
Nothing is perfect.
Well, I just thought maybe,
Well,
you know,
I don't know how to get up with them, Ben. They live in country somewhere, Sam.
well, try to confirm that's what the price is.
But I just April won't come to you.
Okay, so then Mark set up the GoFundMe on the Soft White Underbelly, and got up I think 100 something thousand, and it was getting drained as fast as it was going, and basically at some point it kind of got drained out, and BJ didn't steal the money like people keep saying. The Whitakers were asking for the money, and Mark was giving it to them until it was basically depleted. And then, so that's what happened the first round, okay? Now, everybody knows that story, but after this, Mark was done with the house thing, and he moved on, and then this happened. This Tony guy came along, went into the Whitakers, and basically asked him about what happened with the house, and they said they don't really know. And that Tony guy on the left there, he's got a large channel, and he made it seem like Mark took the money. Everybody about the problem with the GoFundMe, he offered to buy them that house. He was going to be the hero, made Mark look like a crook, and he actually talked about bringing in a double wide, but that idea faded real fast. And to end that chapter, Mark came out with the GoFundMe records that show every dime that came in and every dime that went out. And every dime that came in stayed there until he sent the money to the Whitakers. So Mark never got a dime, and if I heard right, he even paid the taxes on it. So Mark did not make one penny off of that house. The idea, and it was a good idea. It was a logical, simple, clean-cut idea, and then all the hassle he went through and everything. And so, yeah, he went through a lot of problems for that house, but he tried, and he even had to vindicate himself and prove himself innocent. And after everything that Mark Laeta from South White Belly went through, after all that, the very next summer, 2024 August, Mark comes back. Is there a big blow up? Is there some angry feelings? So Mark went through a lot. He didn't get nothing out of it but a big headache and a bunch of problems, okay? But he got a warm welcome back. And they, as you can see...
Hey, Larry. Hey, Timmy. Hey, Lorraine. Good to see you.
Long time.
It's been a long time.
As you can see...
You guys are...
I'm sorry. Being everybody done for you, and I'll tell the whole world I'm sorry what they done.
I accept your apology. That's very, very nice of you.
Okay.
You doing better?
Yeah.
You look all right. Hey, Betty.
Then later, In this video, BJ comes out, she apologizes, and Mark pats her on the back and says, I'm a very forgiving person and I forgive you. So all the people holding grudges you just saw, Mark forgave them. They asked for forgiveness and he forgave them. And he's the only one out of all of us who went through that. All them problems and headaches for the first house. Then, of course, they got a small glimpse of hope from Tony for having a double wide, and that was just another huge problem that made Mark look bad. So that's the second chance at a home was even, made things worse. So the next summer 2025, they have a third chance at a house. Now, their third shot at a home in 2025 comes from no other than their neighbor, Patrick Rourke, and his buddy Eric Carroll, who he just met. When Patrick started doing videos of Timmy and putting them on Facebook, Eric there on the left stepped in with all these ideas to make money and make videos and get things more rolling with the money. Now, Patrick on the right there, he never had the idea about the house. His goals, his goalpost was a little lower. He was looking kind of for groceries for him and maybe a GoFundMe, and monetizing the videos sound good and all that, but that's how that started. Now, the very first trip he took up with the Whitakers in Odd was June 30th, 2025. So as you can see, the first trip up, he started immediately doing videos, or interviews, I should say, with the Whitakers, specifically Betty and Larry. Now, he had this one, showing everybody, giving Lorraine a bag of chips. They had the heartfelt interview, and then they had the meet Patrick and Eric, and then they had this one. So this is all during the first visit. So let's check out this video right here where he brings up the house. Now here it is, Facebook Live, June 30th. And there he is. He's going to bring up this house that he thinks they want. Now I find this clip interesting because I just made a video that I said had Eric telling everybody not to send anything. Don't send anything for the Whitakers. Don't send anything for the Whitakers. Making a big issue if somebody sends something. But he's saying don't send anything. For now, hold off. You know what I mean? So now in this clip, there's two things. He's going to ask Betty, and he also asks Larry. I have them both clipped. But in this first, he asks Betty, is there anything that you could have that would make your life easier and better? And does she say a house? No, because, the house was a disaster with Mark, and so nobody's mentioned anything about a house. But Eric's first visit here, he's going to slither into this house thing, okay? Now, I think when Eric was hoping she would say, yeah, I wish I had a better house, but she didn't. Listen. Oh, hold on.
Betty, is there anything you can think of that would make your life easier? No. So, this is what I was thinking.
You hear that?
Because there's lots of people that want attention.
You hear that? There it is. She said no. Anything that would make your life easier? No. And he says, go ahead.
this is what I was thinking.
His idea.
Because there's lots of people that want to send y'all some stuff and they want to help out, but it'd probably be best to wait until y'all do get that new home. So we can start from new. And then
remember this, he kept saying this over and over. This is where he comes up with the idea. Now, mind you, people in the chat want to send them things that will make their life useful right now. They're like, no, we're just gonna save. If we're no, hold off, yeah, we can start from new, later. Okay, now I wanted to show you that because not only does Betty say no, she doesn't need anything. Larry also says it. Okay, so in this first visit, I'm gonna pull up where it's Eric's idea to do the house, okay? Because of course they're not gonna ask, you know what I mean? And they just said no, they're happy. Like I said, right after this, he asked Larry, and you can watch it yourself. He says, no, there's nothing. Larry says the only thing would make my life easier if BJ, would get some help. You know what I'm saying? But nothing about getting a house or anything. So let's listen to this. Eric brings up this Barnuminium or something like that. I didn't know how to spell it because I never heard of it. But let's hear this, Eric. Okay, so he's just throwing around ideas, okay? He just met these people. And he's throwing around ideas, okay? So Eric asks what kind of house do they want, and he suggests, I did voice to text, and they said Barnaby, and so anyway, it's off of a TV show, I guess. So anyway, let's listen to what Eric's
done that. Somebody's asking if they're at a new place. We are at Patrick's house right now, guys. Now, I guess that's something. One thing that's been talked about for a long time is getting you guys a house. Yeah. What would you want in a house? If you could pick out any house, what would be the typical house that you would like to choose?
I'm thinking like the one they missed out on last time that was right up the road that was, a normal house they could just move into. Okay, so what does Larry say? Oh, I always wanted an Amish cabin. Nope.
What would be the typical house that you would like to choose? How many bedrooms we gotta have?
Does he say 5? 3 or 4?
Yeah.
3 or 4?
So 4 bedrooms, and then I think one thing that me and Patrick have been talking about, a barn dominium would be nice. Have you ever heard of one of those, Betty?
Barn dominium.
Barn dominium. It's a metal building on the outside, but the inside it's like on a concrete foundation, and you can kind of like seal in the floors. That way, if like Ray or somebody had an accident, it'd be easy to clean up. Everything would be easy to clean up, but it's just as strong as, a traditional house and everything. Would that be something y'all would be interested in? I'll show you some pictures. They're really nice. Really.
Look, they're just like stunned. Like, what are you talking about? Look at the looks on their faces. A barn? Yeah, it's basically living in a pole barn, okay? Concrete floors. Why? So Ray can have accidents on it. Like, what? No, you know what? You know what's really good for that? Linoleum floors, you know what I mean? Or any floor, okay? Not like a wood Amish kind of floor, but any modern home can have, you know what? I have it through my whole home. Yep. And so, yeah, you can have, clean floors without a problem, without a barnuminium. So let's see what this barnuminium is. Okay, so turns out it is a barn dominium. What is it called? Barn dominium. Anyway, so I guess it's been on TV shows and stuff. That's probably where he got the idea. Now, he said him and Patrick came up with the idea. I'd be curious to see if Patrick was in on this barn dominium. Maybe they watch the same shows. Let's see. Oh, it's on Fixer Upper on Netflix. They showed a Barnuminian conversion season 3. Oh, now this makes sense. Queer Eye on Netflix. Bobby Burke. Anyway, converted a barnuminium for a sanctuary for abused animals. My bet is probably this is where they got the idea from. Patrick and Eric. I can see that. Building Off Grid, Farmhouse Fixer, and other shows. So I guess it was like, because I don't watch TV. Okay, so I guess this has been a thing. I never heard of it, so I might be out of the loop, you know. Anyway, pretty how else can I say this? Dumb idea. Because what in the heck? Why would they want to live in this barn? Basically it's a gigantic home, which is always a very tall building, and anybody that lives in a cold climate in the winter, you know this is a lot to heat. You can't heat all this. And this is for people like wealthy people, you know, who are wealthy. But these shows that come up with these ideas, they're never really thinking logically, you know what I mean? Sky's the limit. They don't even think about money. It's just, you know, it's a pipe dream. And if you look, because it's, you know, a barn style, it's always got a gigantic roof. Like, why would they need that? That's like, not even in their right mind. I mean, who needs all that? Nobody can get up there. They're all like in their 70s. What's Timmy going to do? Climb up there? I mean, you know what it is like to heat a house in the winter? It's expensive. All right. There's a reason I have one story. Okay. I thought that out after having two homes that were 2-story homes. I'm not heating it upstairs. Okay. So I can only imagine what this would cost. But that's what they are. They're all just, I mean, this is, like I said, it's a dream for wealthy people. You know, I mean, this is not practical. So he's already just not in reality. And his reason for this big barn building is so everything's easy to clean up. Remember that, okay? Well, just remember
that it's just as strong as, you know, a traditional house and everything. Would that be something y'all would be interested in? I'll show you some pictures. They're really nice.
See, they did. Look at how confused she is, and I would be too. He just told us he wants us to live in a barn. Like, what the? They did, yeah. But they're really nice, and Ray can have accidents on the floor. So as you can see on his first visit, June 30th, his very first visit meeting these people, he's telling them that they should have a home. They just both told him they don't want anything. People are offering him just to send them, you know, gifts like, how about a new couch and this other stuff, and maybe, you know, things that'll make their life easier. And Eric says, no, we don't want that. I'm going to build them a barnuminium. So on this June 30th here, Eric has gone from what is normal and logical is a GoFundMe for another home, another cut and dry GoFundMe, okay? I mean, anybody disagree that if there's going to be another home, it should be, again, a GoFundMe, cut and dry, money coming in, money going out. Okay, but this time, no money go out. It'd be agreement for the Whitakers and all of us and everybody watching and donating, that, and Eric and everybody, that the deal is we're going to do another GoFundMe. We're going to pick out another house in the neighborhood. And then when we get to a certain amount or whatever, or we'll hit 100,000, 150, 200, whatever. When it gets, and that, you know, it would have gone fast because people are just waiting to donate. People are trying to send them gifts. But if the people start sending Whitaker's gift, that doesn't do anything for Eric, right? He doesn't get anything out of that, because remember, Eric said he put in the contract. I just put this in one of my last videos. Eric put in the contract, Whitakers get 100% of all donations and gifts, even though there was zero other place to donate. Okay. So everything is funneling into social media. Nothing is going to the Whitakers this way. But with this house, instead of just logically going and picking out another house, all of a sudden it switches to building a house. Now, who in the right mind thinks about breaking ground and building a new home? I mean, these people are in their 70s or whatever they are. 3 out of 4 are, in their, senior years, in their 70s. And Timmy is pushing 50. So why would these elderly people need a brand new home built from the ground up, clear land, and all of a sudden to build a barnuminium, something they won't even A, be able to afford to pay the taxes on, and B, won't even be able to afford to heat? I mean, just already not even thinking logical, really off the rails of even logic. And that's why they're kind of looking at them like, what? Build a home? What? What? Why not just buy another one down the road? I'm going to tell you, because Eric's not going to get anything that way. A GoFundMe, he doesn't get anything. Bringing them, having people send Whitaker's gifts doesn't get Eric anything also. And also, just like I said, buying a home down the road doesn't get anything. So the GoFundMe, nothing. Home down the road, nothing. Sending Whitaker gifts, nothing. That doesn't help Eric at all. So he's shooting down all these ideas to do what? Build a barnuminium. Now, it would have been this easy. This is a very close radius to Odd right here. Here's where the Whitakers live right here. This is a very close radius, and you can get even more listings than this. As a matter of fact, right now, as we speak, I think this week, as a matter of fact, there's an auction in Odd right on, like couple houses down from the Whitakers right now. There's an auction on it. Looks like a double wide, partially boarded up. May or may not have people in it. And it's starting at $15,000, and it's got 5 acres. So anyway, there's stuff around that's not even coming up on this map. I'm telling you right now. But if they're gonna do a GoFundMe, heck, why not get $100,000-$200,000 home, right? $150,000. It buys a lot here. So yeah, I could show you a little, cheaper places or land or whatever. But breaking ground, I mean, who needs that in their senior citizen years? You know what I mean? If it was a family, in their young family starting out with kids and stuff, maybe. I mean, even then, you know what I mean? But, just dumb. But let's look at what you could get if they were just thinking logically, like Mark Laeda, with a GoFundMe where he's not making anything and it's very transparent, to this other nonsense. So, go over here. Now remember, when he asked Larry flat out what kind of home, he goes, I don't know, just a regular home with 3 or 4 bedrooms. And he goes, all right, so you need 4 bedrooms. Now, Eric then, amps it up to 5 bedrooms. Why? Because it costs more. Everything Eric does is because it costs more. Extravagant, just reckless spending, and anyway. So just in the area, you got this one for $60,000, 2-bedroom, 1 bath, it's a little small. But, what do we got here? $179,000. Look at that. That's actually a good deal. Nice place. This is right up the road. 170, look at 4 bedrooms. It's just perfect. 2 baths would have been beautiful. You know what I mean? So anything like this, and these are coming and going constantly. Oh, look, it's got a deck. They might not probably be, want to be around neighbors. This is stuff that's coming and going constantly. I could go look back next week. It would be something else. You know what I mean? So this stuff's constantly going. 100 Gent is right up the road. That's where Patrick's old address is, right up the road. 129,000, the 3-bedroom, 2 baths. You know what I mean? And this one looks like it's a little more out in the country, but look at, I mean, one after the next after the next. These are all nice. You know what I mean? It's got a porch on the front. He could have had anything, so you can see. And this one, really nice. Look at 6 bedrooms. I mean, I love real estate, and I study real estate, and I've been in it for a long time. Worked with the people for years. And so I'm very familiar with real estate. And this is something like this. I could have gotten them something like this. 129. Look at that. Look at this. 129,000. All right. Beautiful, right? And the thing is 6 bedrooms. Okay. I mean, just, perfect, right? Deck. I mean, every one of these would fine. I would stay away from anything close to neighbor. That's my theory. But look, for $500,000, you could get practically a mansion. I mean, look at that. Look at that spread for $500,000. Now, what this barnuminium or whatever he's gonna and plowing the land stuff. Breaking land and everything, it would be more than $500,000, for that barnum. Look at the prices that I showed you. It was ridiculous. So anyway, all kinds of places for, for the money that they were going to have coming in. They could have had any one of these places, you know what I mean? And always more tomorrow coming. Okay, so this first round, his first time meeting the Whitakers was June 30th, 2025, and he brought up this idea about a house, but then that turned into a barnuminium. And notice they're not asking for a house, it's his idea. But on the last video, in fact, I think it was this one right here, somebody asked, do they even want a house? And Eric says, yeah, it's all they ever talked about. No, you saw they didn't ask. They didn't want nothing. But that was June 30th, his first trip. Now, his first visit was just 2 weeks after signing the contract with Patrick on June 20th. By the way, that's when the police, when they opened the fraud investigation, they said they're going back to June 20th, which is interesting. That's when it was. They signed the contract with the Whitakers. And so it was the 20th. It's only 1 week. So just a week after signing that contract, Eric is there and he's making this deal. And right away, he's the one that brought up the house. In the meantime, he takes Ray to the urgent care and he makes it sound like he's just wonderful, doing all these things, gets some air conditioner. And then he says that, he tells us that he's going to fly out to Robert Mast trial, which I found interesting because recently I saw not once but twice Eric, when he was in front of Robert Mast, he said he flew in the night before the verdict. Now, he told us that he was here the whole month, because there's the payday, first payday that Whitaker's got ripped off right there. But he told us that he was there at the trial for the whole month. But when he was in front of Robert Mast, he said, yeah, I flew in last night for the verdict. Well, and he had an Airbnb. And then the very next day, it was the problem with the copper. You know what I'm saying? And then that all started. Well, then BJ goes to jail, gets arrested, and Eric is back. So, the day after BJ gets arrested, Eric comes back on August 8th, and that's where these videos start. Right about here, this is the day. So he goes to, he does all kinds of stuff. He's just really treating the Whitakers great. He's bringing Timmy for shoes. that is hilarious because I'm not even gonna get in. I'll get in some other time. Anyway, so he's got this, and then all of a sudden he's got Timmy sleeping over. But during this second trip, Eric comes back with his brother. Okay, now the plan changes a little bit. Now remember, the first time he came in June, and Eric brought up this, they should have a house, and Larry's like, yeah, okay, 3-bedroom house would be great, or 4. And he's like, no, you gotta have this barnuminium. And you remember the looks on their faces, like, what? Betty and Larry is just like, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, he comes back on August 8th. This time he's got his brother with him, and he's gonna bring up this house thing again, and he's gonna bring up the barnuminium. And Larry still has no idea. But the barnuminium is gonna, the story is gonna change a little bit. Now remember, he has had, let's see, hold on. It's been 5.5 weeks since he was there, okay? So it's been over a month. Eric's traveled all over, and who knows what he was doing. And there was that little problem with the copper where him and Patrick were going back and forth, bringing up BJ and the copper, and then there was the copper arrest. And the next day, August 8th, Eric returns, and he's going to bring up this, what was it again? A barnuminium or something?
We'll make it happen one day. I'm thinking about getting y'all's barnuminium. I don't know, the Amish might have a better idea.
Okay, here it comes. Enter the Amish. Hold on a second. Yeah, and look at, he brings up the barnuminium again. Now remember, he already pitched this idea almost 6 weeks ago, and they were not thrilled. They didn't even know what he's talking about, and they just want a regular house. If you're going to get him a house, get him a regular house. But see, he's had almost 6 weeks to think about this, all right? So now he's back, and now he's going to bring the Amish into the picture, and this is going to make the waters even muddier, because you could have just bought a house, like Mark said, just right up the road, get the GoFundMe, bada bing, bada boom. I showed you, they're all over the place. Beautiful homes, beautiful. And on top of it, all right, on top of it, there wouldn't be a problem with BJ now, would there? Now, mind you, there is no problem with BJ right now. During this August 8th, okay? Still no problem. He's been there twice. First visit, BJ was on the porch with them. They were chatting. Everything was hokey dokey. And remember, that was after they signed the contract, because the contract was signed on June 20th. And now he's shooting videos a week later with BJ elbow to elbow with them, chumming it up. So obviously there was no clause in that 3-way contract for BJ to be around, right? So you can't tell me that, because he was friendly with BJ for the first couple weeks at least, right? So now we are August 8th. BJ just went in jail the day before. I don't think Larry and Betty have any idea about Patrick and Eric, discussing this copper thing before the arrest. But anyway, let's see how this morphs into an Amish situation.
I'm thinking about getting y'all's barnuminium. I don't know, the Amish might have a better idea. I want to tell you, if the Amish comes down here to build y'all's house, you're going to have a very, very nice house. Very nice.
Okay, I'm going to stop right there. Now, he adds on here. We're going to get you very, very... Now, he adds on here, this thing over on the side, we should be going to meet the Amish within the next month. It has not happened yet, but should be soon. Now, mind you, this is August 8th. Okay? Meeting with the Amish in the month would be September 8th. Do you know the first frost in Virginia down here? I checked. First frost out of West Virginia is in October. and you ain't going to be pouring no concrete after that. And Larry even expresses his concern. Well, what about, firewoods? I mean, this is a little late to be discussing building a home in September. You're not even going to discuss it till December. So right now, you've just wasted a month. It goes from August 8th to September 8th. Bringing in the Amish, because why don't you go down to Pearisburg and drive around and look for an Amish now? You know what I mean? But here's where the Amish comes into the plan, and here's where everything stalls. Now it goes from buying a house up the street to a barnuminium to now we'll meet with the Amish in a month, okay? Okay, now mind you, remember, he just left John Mass' house, who is an ex-Amish, who just fought against the Amish. Okay, Amish against the ex-Amish. That's what just happened. He just came from that. So now all of a sudden, coincidentally, he wants to bring Amish into this picture. I mean, what are the odds? Lottery odds that he just came from John ex-Amish spending a month or a week or a day, whatever story you believe, but he just spent time with his best buddy in a trial where it was an Amish against an ex-Amish, and now all of a sudden this barnuminium should be built by Amish?
We'll make it happen one day. I'm thinking about getting y'all's barnuminium. I don't know, the Amish might...
Look at the look on Larry's face. Like all of us, the same look we would all have. I'm thinking getting a barnuminium, like... What lives in a barn? It sounded like he said barn. Did he say barn? Barn.
The Amish might have a better idea. I'm going to tell you, if the Amish comes down here to build y'all's house, you're going to have a very, very nice house. Very nice.
Like we had your hardwood and everything.
Yeah. Now, here's a month from now, that's going to be September. He's got to get fired and everything. And you're just going to think about building a house? We're coming into winter in September. I mean, they're building firewood up for the winter. And you're like, what?
Hardwood and everything. Yeah.
He was parked in the road like it was a driveway. Then the barnuminium turned into Amish barnuminium, and that turned into a Amish log cabin. Why? So Ray could wipe his hands on the logs. So, once they quit, they were going over the list of all the things that could have been, including Ray wiping his hands on logs. It would have been fine because, the Amish actually, it's like a Lincoln log thing. They just kind of lock them together and go. And so there's no sheet rock or high gloss paint or anything. They're just logs. But I guess rough textured logs on your walls are just fine to wipe your hands. So this was one of the selling points of why, this is one selling point of why the logs house, all the good things why it would have been. Well, many selling points.
House in 3 days.
Oh, and they can throw it up in 3 days. Now, but remember, the Amish don't, they don't do the electricity. They don't do the plumbing or anything like that. They don't deal with building permits, and they don't do anything up to code. Okay, so I mean, anybody here want a 5-bedroom house thrown up in 3 days? But anyway, I guess that is one of the selling points. This was on a Friday. It could have been done Monday morning. Just think about that. Oh, including pouring the concrete slab in the frost.
5-bedroom log house in 3 days.
Yeah, we can do it, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
That's what the Amish do. That's what they're known for.
I'm from California. You can't even get solar in 2 years.
Right.
Oh.
Right.
We're all
And that's
very
cool.
impressed.
We just want some solar panels. Oh, okay, yeah, that'll take 2 years.
Right.
It's a house. It's a full house.
Douche is always so helpful.
And in 3 days, you know.
Yeah.
They're like,
I
yeah,
mean, 3, yeah.
They said average.
I forgot what he was talking about.
about.
Average is 3. Oh, okay, it could be done Saturday. This is Friday. Let's see, Saturday. Well, it could be done Sunday. You could be living in Monday. Hanging pictures by Monday. This is Friday. So, yeah, so could sometimes 2. But, I mean, sounds too good to be true, huh? Well, when you make up crap, you can say anything you want.
He built to their specifications, their special needs specifications, too.
Just exterior though, but the reason they was wanting to do logs, they was going to do the 6x12 because they said with that it was bigger and you wouldn't need any insulation, sheetrock. It's like put it up and it's done.
Right.
And it's durable. And durable. They said Ray could hit the walls, punch it, smear stuff on the walls if he wanted to every winter time. Easy to clean. Because they got a wood stove right now.
Okay, so it'd be easy to clean up Ray smearing stuff on rough textured logs. Okay, that was one reason that it would be great for Ray. Remember, the barnuminium was going to be great because he could soil all over the concrete, remember, because it's a barn. But the Amish log cabin's even better idea because they could have it up in 3 and maybe even 2 days before the weekend's over. And Ray could wipe his hands all over those rough logs. So that's, I guess, why it should be a log cabin instead of, buying one of them beautiful homes down the road. Now, another reason that Eric said, not just the first reason that they need it to be a log home instead of any other home. Now, he never explained why it has to be built from the ground up and land cleared. But the only reason I ever heard was 2 reasons. One's because Ray eats with his hands and he wipes them everywhere, and they need a special place that Ray can wipe his hands all over. And, I mean, that is the strangest thing I ever heard. Like I said in a previous video a long time ago, that you just, most people have high gloss in their kitchen and bathroom and just put it all over the house, and you can just wipe off, sheetrock with some gloss paint. And I don't get what the problem, or how a log cabin wiping his hands on logs. So anyway, none of this made sense. Now, the second reason that Eric says, and this is the only 2 reasons I've heard, is because they've always gotten harassed. People driving by their house in the middle of the night. How many times did you hear him say that? Why it has to be built back? He fought tooth and nail that it has to be way back on the back of the property, and all this other nonsense. But it has to be way back in the woods. It can't be on the street like it is now because everybody's harassing them. They're throwing bottles at their window in the middle of the night or whatever, rocks or whatever he said. Acting like it. I even said in the video, I can't remember which one it was, but I said he's acting like it's the LA riots in their front yard, every night, and it's not. But that was the reason why it had to be built way back, and all this other stuff that he came up with. But he said that all summer about this Amish home. But this was after he was already told that people don't drive by their house anymore. That was like decades ago. In their younger days, people used to do that, but they don't do that anymore. And Eric was told that on June 30th, 2025, when he was fishing here, because he watched, I can tell, everything comes out of Eric's mouth is from a Soft White Underbelly video, including the potato chips. Okay, everything came from his. He must have studied them videos, but so he knows about them harassing them in the middle of the night. So Eric is going to bring that up. You know what I mean? Because this is the. So anyway, let's hear what she has to say. And I titled this little clip I have, Strangers Do Not Show Up at Their House at Night. So nice try, Eric. We'll see what they say here. Sorry, that was like a dragster driving by or something on this video. So I guess they kick it down when they go past Patrick's house. Because they're at Patrick's house. So anyway, right off from the get-go, first time he ever met these Whitakers, he learned that, no, they don't drive by the house anymore. So I'm going to turn it down because a really loud vehicle drives by. Actually, two of them drove by.
Wendy Marie Seligman said, "Do strangers still show up at your house?"
No.
You haven't had anybody strange show up that you wasn't expecting?
No. Okay. Good. So all those times where Eric's excuse to build the Amish house way back in the woods is because people were driving by tormenting the Whitakers, right? Just one thing after another to make things more complicated and stall more, but make it sound more grandiose each time. But you heard it out of their own mouth first time they met Eric. Nope, nobody drives by their house. Nobody harasses them anymore. Nothing. So now Eric's got a reason to stall for at least a month before he even starts to talk to this Amish guy. And he's got a reason to fly John Maston now. Oh, now we need an Amish, go-between, an Amish diplomat. And what better than to fly one in from Idaho that just got fighting, not only one that's been excommunicated, Amish that's been excommunicated, the Mass family, but one that just got done fighting people who are still Amish in court for 5 years. You know what I mean? So, but that's Eric's excuse to fly him and his buddy and Douche here and everybody to go on a trip to this imaginary Amish deal he's going to make. So instead of hopping right on it in the beginning of August, he waits all the way until September, for this meeting with the Amish. So he gets a hold of this Pearisburg. Now, he never told us, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I never heard him say where they were going. I heard him, none of us, I don't think, heard him say Pearisburg until after I exposed it. And then he later said Pearisburg, but he never told us where he went. But he ended up going to Pearisburg, Virginia, and he went to the store, and he had this big elaborate story how him and all his buddies from all over the place went down there, went on a road trip, more Airbnbs, and they all went to the Amish store and had to do some secret code to meet the bishop, and the bishop's name was Sam Chupp. And it's funny because it says Amish America out, and here's somebody's note, but you can't, there's no way to click it on. You only see the beginning. It says, I would like to speak with Sam Chupp, or someone in the Amish community that would consider building me a log cabin in Blue Well, West Virginia. I prefer to speak with him. Now, I don't know what the rest of it said, but right there you can see people are communicating with Sam Chupp, the bishop, via internet, right? But if you click on this, and you will get this Amish America, the site here. And it tells you about this Amish community in Pearisburg, Virginia. And anyway, and there's a way that you can get a hold of the bishop to build a house right over the thing. Anyway, you can also find the bishop, Sam Chupp. His information is online, and it shows the home that they visited. I don't know what they were doing there, but anyway, this could have all been handled over the internet or by phone. But they made an elaborate trip out of it with him and all of his buddies, and then came back and showed us a stack of receipts like 4 inches tall, you know what I mean? And so, anyway, and then after he called the deal off 2 days later, for no legitimate reason. Him and his buddies decide they need to go drive all the way back there for a second trip to tell them that they're not going to get the house done. So they had 2 of these trips down here to get the house, just the meeting, okay? Then they came back and said the bishop, Sam Chup, agreed to build it. And this is all nonsense because now I just heard from somebody else who also knows in the comments section, of that Amish video that I did, where it said that I doubt that this whole thing about the bishop, okay? I think it was just fictitious, this whole charade, a reason for him and his buddies to go on this big trip, all expenses paid. And I just doubted the whole thing. And because first of all, it's not even logical. Why go to another state when you can just have local builders build a home? And why even build a home for people in their 70s, you know what I mean, in their senior years, when you could just, buy one down the road already ready to go? But this involved, spending another, this would have bought more time. It bought a month just to start planning with the Amish. He got a big old free trip. That bought a few more days. But then his deal fell through. But it would have if his, little plan hadn't fallen through on that Friday. It's Timmy and all that. He would have been able to buy more time with the building permits and the this and the that. All these other details that he would have milked it out more. Then it would, so this was definitely milking it. And the time was just tick-tock and getting close to, to fall. Now, this log cabin idea would have been $1 million, okay? Remember, he was ready to open the floodgates for this because a 5-bedroom log cabin built by the Amish, just logs only, nothing on the inside, no plumbing, no electricity, no permits, nothing up to code, just this is a 5-bedroom, probably $500,000 right there. Okay, now I blocked out the street number, all right, because I learned not to have the number. But there's the Whitaker's home there, okay, at this dot here. Now, there was a question whether they own the home on this side of the road where their home is right now, or on the other side of the road where the camper, the mobile home that burned down. Either side of the home, do they own either side of the home? But so in order to build, whether it's on one side or the other of that dot, you can see that there is dense woods on both sides. Dense woods on both sides. All right, which means you have to clear land every inch of it to go back. He's talking hundreds of feet. Now, Betty specifically mentioned that she would want to, she supposedly told Patrick, and we would all agree that they love sitting on the porch watching the cars go by. So back in the woods makes no sense, okay? Just makes things more complicated and stalls more time. They don't want to be back in the woods. Now, I'm almost sure, I'm convinced that they never were serious about building this. And I don't know if he even talked to the bishop. I don't know any of that because I doubt he would agree to build a house in another state. And where are they going to get the materials? And just complicated. And if you build back into the woods hundreds of feet, what happens is you have to clear land. First of all, you have to clear a driveway that goes hundreds of feet back. My driveway is 200 feet back. I'm going to tell you, it is not a joke, okay? In the wintertime, and I heard that they get snow. In fact, I heard it right out of their mouth. You have to plow a path back in and out. Now, springtime, muddy, okay? Yeah, it's muddy. When it's rainy and all that other stuff, when the snow melts, and then the snow, I mean, almost impossible to get in and out, okay? Unless you snowblow or have a plow. I snowblowed, I don't mind it, but it just got to be a lot, and I ended up hiring a guy to plow my driveway out, because it is a lot of work, and I cannot see the Whitakers doing that, okay? Because I didn't mind it, and I did it, but even got a lot for me. But yeah, and so imagine being back in the woods here, snowed in. You need a 4-wheel drive to get in and out, okay? I wouldn't even think about getting in and out of here. And then I get out onto a dirt road. But, so nobody up here would even think of getting around without a 4-wheel drive up here. Both my vehicles are 4-wheel drive. Just to get in and out of your own driveway when you're way back in the woods like this. And so just how just dumb this is. And just the added expense and the added inconvenience, and now somebody's got to pay for the driveway being plowed out. Somebody's got to try to get you in and out of this mud bog, in and out. Not only that, but you got to clear the land for this. That's thousands and thousands and more dollars. I have had land cleared right here, and I've also had a septic put in here, and that is another. I think $17,000 to $20,000 to put a septic, and that's my conditions were ultimate; they were perfect. But up there, there's issues, and you cannot have, a septic on certain soils and bedrock and all that, which I heard they have over there. And they're so far back, you can't even connect to the city, because what are you going to do? And when it's a city, it can't go uphill. So the terrain cannot go uphill when you're trying to drain a house. It has to have there has to be it has to go down a grade. It has to slope. I remember just mine going from my house to the septic. I had all new lines put in, and it had to be a certain slope, a certain angle, certain degree of a slope. So it's so much to it, whether you, do that. And then what about the water? Are you going to have to drill a well? Now it's bedrock, right? So, can you even drill a well? Or are you going to also, not only the septic going hundreds of feet from the city sewer, they don't do that. You know how much that would cost to go back in the woods with city? They're already hooked up to city. And so all the houses around, none of these problems should even be on the table if you just bought a house down the street. But again, more problems, you know what I mean? Now, so you got to have some kind of a, septic system, a water flowing system. You have some kind of water coming in and out. What about electricity? Now, I saw a video, and I couldn't find it, but they were driving with Larry in the truck, and I think it was Eric, maybe Patrick too, but anyway, they were talking about building back into the woods. The first thing Larry said is, it costs $10,000 around here to put up a telephone pole and run wire. And he said, then they add by the foot. So right away, Larry knew. And then somebody, it might have even been Patrick, somebody chimed in and said, yeah, it's outrageous out here to get any wire. So how much is it going to cost to run electricity all the way and power poles and all this other stuff back to get electricity? Because remember, the Amish don't deal with electricity. So you're going to get an empty shell of a cabin with rough, walls that Ray will wipe his hands on. I mean, just one ridiculous thing after the next. It just, you would be way over $1 million, way over $1 million by the time you get and then you're going to have a concrete slab, and then you got to level the land, and it's just one thing after the next. It's just, it's so far out of reality. Almost as, I thought the Barnuminium was, an outer space already. But then this is just like, to the moon, Alice. Now, I thought this was interesting because this is the first time that Eric ever met the Whitakers. He's throwing out these ideas that they need this home, they need this home, they need this, and they need that. Nothing that can they can use right now, like money or gifts. Nope, you got to have this home, Barnuminium, and all this other nonsense. So he's on this very first video on June 30th. It's interesting because he brings up BJ, and remember, the whole reason Eric said that he called off this deal with the Amish log cabin is because BJ and the issue with BJ. Okay, so here it is, June 30th. Now I found this very interesting because remember, there hasn't been a contract for the house on the day that Eric called it quits because BJ was on the property. There was no contract, and the social media contract did not say anything about BJ being on the property because BJ and Eric were still friendly at that time on June 20th. Okay, so nothing in there about BJ being on the property for that contract, and the contract for the house had not been made yet. So there is no deal about BJ being on the property. Okay, so listen to this. They're addressing this because people are saying, oh, if you get him a house, what about BJ? So he addresses it, and he's gonna only address this one time, he said. All right. Now this later he makes a big deal out of it. Let's see what he says.
I will address this. I'm going to address it one time, and then I'm never going to address it again. But I know people are going to be asking.
He's going to address it one time. He'll never address it again. Although this whole thing blew up because of this.
I'm going to address it one time, and then I'm never going to address it again. But I know people are going to be asking about this. Stacy Burnett said, how will y'all stop BJ from taking things this time? How will you make sure she doesn't take anything from you this time? Don't give her your hat. Somebody's asking, what's your favorite flower, baby?
Okay, now it's funny because Patrick changes the subject. Oh, what's your favorite flower? Now Larry addresses that question. What about BJ? This time, and Eric says this is the first and the only time I'm going to address it. When it's funny because the whole thing blew up because of this. But I guess he didn't keep his word like any other time he opened his mouth. But anyway, so Larry addressed it, even though Patrick's trying to sidetrack the question with this flower question. Larry addresses it. He says, well, this time when she asks for something, we're not going to give it to her. Plain and simple. All right. I mean, they already been over this. It's water under the bridge.
What's your favorite flower? Someone's asking.
Then Eric also directs Betty to the flower question.
What's your favorite flower? Someone's asking. What?
See, so Larry answered the question. Eric said he's going to only ask this once, and then he'll be done with it. Larry answered, and it is water under the bridge because him and his family, and BJ in particular, and Larry, you saw it on video, in that one video in 2024, 1 year later, which is last summer. You have it on video. Mark is they asked for forgiveness. Mark forgave him, and it was water under the bridge. All right. So Eric brings it up. He says that's done. We're not going to do that anymore. And they moved on to the flower question. Okay. And the video is called How Will BJ Not Take Things Now? Eric has only asked this one time. This was June 30th. This is my clip. Now remember, at the end when he quits and walks away, he admits it was a pipe dream, and he blamed Betty and BJ. Although remember, he wasn't going to bring up BJ's past anymore, nothing like that. So let's see what he has to say.
Much more that went on here than this. This is what I was trying to avoid. I was really hoping if I could separate the money, this would all just go away. And it was a pipe dream.
Pipe dream.
Yeah. As a pipe
Sadly.
And it's not just that.
Admits
That
it.
was, Betty, the choices she made with BJ.
That one was, in a way, a surprise.
Yeah. So admits it's a pipe dream and blames it failing on BJ and Betty. So he's not taking any responsibility for this bullcrap pipe dream of blowing up. And it didn't blow up on him, it blew up on the Whitakers. He made a lot of money. He's not out one penny. In fact, he's profited quite a bit, tens of thousands of dollars. The only one out are the Whitakers and all the donators. These two here have made a lot of money, especially Eric. Now, you say, well, where was Patrick in all this? Because it seems like, he just kind of, from the minute Eric came in the picture, Patrick started fading away, kind of like that photo in Back to the Future. All of a sudden, like, Patrick was like fading away, until he wasn't even in the picture anymore. Eric got complete control of all the social media money, and that's where every single penny ever came in. A couple of coloring books or something, but the Whitakers were never given an outlet, something for their donations, which Eric said they get 100% of, but there is no, where's the place where people are supposed to donate to them? So Eric is the only one that was making money. Patrick was making money too. But so where was Patrick in all this? Well, this was interesting because on Lady K's interview with Patrick after the falling out and after the Whitakers were taken away, and there's nothing left now. Patrick is gonna spill the beans on Eric and say that this that they had a fallout, and the fallout was over the fact that Eric knew the land didn't belong to the Whitakers. So let's listen in.
You gotta clarify something, but I don't want to get off that property yet with the Amish. I want to go back to that, because if Eric knew about that being an airship and stuff, then why did he perceive? And if you knew, did you just kind of feel like you needed to ride it out with him about building a house? If he knew it was tied up in airship, you can't build on something that they don't.
That right there is where the confrontation started with me and Eric.
Okay.
He's just trying to do so much. It's kind of like he wanted everything to happen. He wanted everything to happen now. And I was just like, I tried to explain to him. I said, we live in West Virginia. We don't live in Georgia. It gets cold in West Virginia 3 months ahead of what Georgia does. And you're talking about building a house that wouldn't get done until December. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And do you know why he wanted the Amish to do it? I'm sure that there are local contractors in West Virginia that could have used the business.
Yep.
Why did he go over to Virginia, the Perrysburg area, to find Amish?
In Perrysburg?
Yeah, Perrysburg.
I'll tell you why that happened is because whenever you involve yourself with the Amish and having them to build something for you, they don't go through the same banks that we do. They have their own bank.
Yeah, we tracked that down. It's something Bird Bank.
Bird in the hand.
And was that bank going to be the bank, that Bird Bank that's in that area and up to Pennsylvania? Is that the bank that was going to be responsible, if you knew, allegedly, going to be responsible for the Whitaker money?
Well, like I said,
what that clip is going to say is that he never met the Amish. Now, don't you find that a little interesting that Patrick said when he went to the Airbnb, they were he was next door in that one Airbnb that Patrick went to, and Patrick said that when Eric flew his buddies, when Eric flew his buddies out to that Airbnb, first of all, he told everybody that he took in donations, thousands of dollars in donations, to pay for that large Airbnb home, because he said that was for the Whitakers. But what happened was all Eric's buddies flew in. Okay. Now, I find it interesting. Patrick said not once did Eric introduce Patrick to his buddies, Douche and Robert Mast. And not only that, but he never introduced Patrick to the Amish. Now remember, the only ones that went were Eric and all his buddies. Now, why would all his buddies go with Eric? Wouldn't you think that Larry and Betty would go with Eric? Wouldn't you think that Patrick would go with Eric? But Patrick, Larry, and Betty didn't go. The only one went with Eric was Eric's buddies. You know what I mean? So he could control the narrative. You don't need Betty and Larry and Patrick around blowing this charade, okay? So the only ones Eric wants on this trip are his close buddies who are getting a free trip and all this, benefits from this. So Eric's buddies are sticking to the script, and that's why they left out Patrick. But here's another clip. Now, they asked, why weren't you talking to Eric? It's funny because this whole thing only lasted 2.5 months. He says for the last 2 months, we didn't get along. That means that they only got along for 2 weeks. First 2 weeks. But anyway, which is interesting because that would bring us up to that whole copper thing. But anyway, nonetheless, let's listen to what he's got to say. But he didn't want to be around Eric. He said, why don't you just, whatever. He said he didn't want to be around because he didn't want to argue with him or get in a fight. With my temper, if I wasn't around him, it wouldn't be good. And it's funny because in that interview, the first interview, Eric said, so what has Timmy done for you? And he said, well, Timmy, I used to be very angry, mean person. I'm not angry and mean at all because of Timmy. Well, I don't know how many times he keeps saying that he's mad and angry and has a temper. But again, he says he didn't want to be around Eric because he might not control his temper on him.
If I was around him, it wouldn't be good. Just because I felt that there was things that he was doing like that was under the radar.
Mm-hmm.
That was just shady as shit, and I didn't like it, but I didn't know a way to approach it.
The money was rolling in. Patrick was being handed tens of thousands of dollars. What, $4,000 one time, according to whatever Eric. Patrick says 1,000, but another time he borrowed a $7,000 from the Whitakers' money, and then another time, so literally thousands and thousands of dollars. And he's saying he didn't know how to approach it. No, he didn't want that money stopping. And at this point, Eric has already somehow finagled control over, or finagled, or whatever it's called. He's taken over all the social media accounts, the money and everything. Every penny is going through Eric's fingers. All right. Even Patrick doesn't even have control of his own channel anymore. But anyway, he's going along to get along because the money.
There was things that he was doing like
under the radar. Mm-hmm.
That was just shady as shit.
And he went along with it.
I didn't know a way to approach it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I want to state this. Patrick never met the Amish people. Am I correct? You need to tell me again? Yeah, so he never met the Amish people. Okay? So, I mean, that's where he started feeling like, whoa, what's going on here?
So we're going to stick on the contract just a second and the money here, just 1 second. So what we were talking about was with this contract, and it was to be dispersed every 25th, 26th.
And then they get into the money part. Now, Patrick also says in that same interview that he thinks the whole thing was a scam.
Opportunity, which, I mean, he's a podcaster.
Yes, he didn't tell us that.
Just like Mark. Not saying anything's wrong with that.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm not saying that's wrong, but I think that once he found, this is just my perspective, I'm not saying there's any truth to it, but once he found out that the house is not plausible because of the airship, it's going to take time, a lot of time, it wasn't benefiting him to what he needed it to do.
I think the whole thing with the Amish was a scapegoat because he talked about permits, and there's no way that you can get permits that quick. And he said that he talked to a lawyer, which turned out to be somebody called that lawyer, and they said we've never had a conversation with Eric about anything. So
what? Nuh-uh.
yeah, that's
Now, wait a minute, because I just want to say that again, that lady, just because I want to be fair and
So now that Patrick himself got stiffed by Eric, all of a sudden he's spilling the beans. But he had all summer to spill the beans, and he didn't. And he made excuse after excuse now. But now that he's getting the shaft, now he's going to speak up. Now he says it's all a scam. Now, had Eric just done what he should have and just bought a house up the road 5 miles away, there would be zero problems. And on June 30th, when he brought up the idea of the house and the barnuminium and the log cabin and all that, on June 30th, he could have got the wheels in motion. On June 30th, they could have just took up a collection, another GoFundMe, nobody's hands in it, just a transparent, put it out there. Whitaker Home GoFundMe for the home and the furnishings and everything that they're going to need to go in it. And he could have just, on June 30th, started it. By all accounts, he did nothing in July. He helped Robert Mast or something. But then again, he said he was only at Robert Mast for 1 day, and another time he said a week. So no excuse. On June 30th, he couldn't have got this together. And within a couple weeks, they could have found a home. And within 30 days, it would have closed. And, after his plan for Timmy fell through, it was time to, just blow the whole thing up and go home. And now? Every single penny is in his pocket because he made it that way. The Whitakers got no home, no donations, nothing. An entire summer wasted. They could have been in the home weeks ago, but Eric, made everything complicated, and I do believe it was intentional just to buy time, because he's not even starting to meet with the Amish till September when he came up with this idea back in June. You know what I mean? This was a stall tactic, in my opinion. And his plan backfired. He thought they would, I mean, they did. He called APS. He did all that stuff, and they came with stretchers and hauled them all away. But, and in the same time, he also demonized and made everybody feel like it is number one, it's BJ, Larry, and Betty's fault, and number two, all the reasons why you should hate them by now. You know what I mean? And how it's not his fault. And now, why he should go back to Georgia. He's got an excuse to go home. And nothing went into the Whitaker's name. No gifts, no money, no donations, no house, no nothing. But anyway, see how long this took? It was an hour and a half almost. Dang. I don't even know if I ever had a recorded video of this long. I knew it was going to take long. But there you go. There is a story. It's almost like a documentary about this stalling tactic and how ridiculous it was. And, it just turned from one thing into the next. Hope I'm not forgetting anything. I was gonna say, not to mention, he also complicated it even more distractions, more, delays and just more nonsense by all these plans. He's gonna get a trust. He's gonna do this. He's gonna do that. Oh, we gotta bring Ray to the doctor. Oh, we gotta do this. Shopping. What one thing he did accomplish all summer is he racked up an entire library of Whitaker videos that he can make tens of thousands of dollars off. You know what I mean? I mean, just per month. He said, I think they said 1 month was $40,000. Now he's in charge of all the platforms. I think 7 or 8 of them or something, raking in the money. So now he's coasting off this library. Now today I heard somebody say that, and they put a comment on my comment section that the investigators have frozen the funds. I sure hope so, because these reruns that he has racked up. Now he's got, like I said, he owns his own entire library of every second of Whitaker, Timmy, Lorraine, and Ray video that you'll ever see. Okay, now it's all in his control. He's made up a reason to quit. He's made up another reason to sue the Whitakers for backing out of their contract when they did not. And BJ was never in the contract. It was never even a clause, you know what I mean? So anyway, I know it's been a long one. I don't know if I forgot anything, but maybe I'll catch you on the flip side. Thanks for listening. And I hope they don't load this with too many commercials. It's supposed to be one right in the middle. I'm getting mixed messages. Somebody said there's one or none, and somebody else said they're every 5 minutes. So anyway, I hope they don't overload it, but and hope this was helpful to people. And I hope it's helpful to any investigators that may be peeking in on this stuff. So anyway, thanks for listening. It's been a long one, and peace.